The Chusky Boys!
This is Chad with Hemlock. What does a Chusky Boy looks like?
Chusky Boys, what's that?
Chusky Boys, not to be confused with Husky Boys.
The Chusky Boys.
I believe y'all guys are listening to the Chusky Boys.
This is William Duvall, and you are listening to the Chusky Boys.
Right, episode 7 of the Chusky Boys. It is going to be a fucking fantastic episode. Not only do we have, as always, Dusty Hirsch, the other Chusky boy.
Hey now.
And not only that, special guest, my brother, JJ Martin. How in the hell are you, gentlemen?
Fabulous.
Not bad. This podcast is family friendly for about 4 seconds, JR. So another one that I won't share to my family. Thanks.
I figure if we're gonna have the explicit on the podcast on all the platforms, not only hey, speaking of that, we're on Podbean, right? That's who we pay the money to store this. Yes, we're on Amazon Music. You damn right we're on podcast, Apple Podcasts. You betcha we're on Google Podcasts. Granted, those do update rather slow compared to the other ones. We are now on Spotify. What can I say? I am fantastic at what I do. Okay.
Hey-o.
Anywhere you're getting your podcast, we're now available. F&A right, Cotton.
It's good thing we got all those sponsors paying them bills for our tens of thousands of listeners.
There are dozens of us.
JJ, how are you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys?
Fantastic as always. Now, some of you, not many of you, probably familiar with Midwest Babylon podcast. That's what me and JJ did prior to the Chusky Boys happening. Life gets in the way sometimes of your hobbies and your side projects, and so JJ was unable to continue to do it on a consistent basis. So I'm like, instead of taking Midwest Babylon, which is something that me and him did, me and Dusty picked up something new in the Chusky Boys, always knowing in my head that JJ would be part of this in some form or some fashion. And luckily, the stars aligned with his La Familia that he had the ability to jump on and be not only our special guest, he'll do some football picks, we'll educate him on sports betting, but super, super excited to visit with him today. So don't forget Midwest Babylon, right? We did 9 episodes over the span of 2 years. Not really consistent.
Hey, I was on a couple of them. It was
you were on one, weren't you? Maybe 2.
One with me, one that I remember.
Brian Herb.
Yeah. And so here we are with the Chusky Boys, episode 7, almost more than Midwest Babylon. But JJ, dude, so you're still very, very rural. We've always talked about that, dude. Like, you live in the middle of nowhere almost. Like, I think we're happy that you have high-speed internet there in Timberlake, South Dakota. Not only are you a teacher molding the minds of the future, but you are also a football coach, which is really kind of what we want to focus on, because that's what we're all about here, is sports, not so much in the classroom. And you, how long have you been a coach over there at Timberlake?
Since fall of 2019. So when I started teaching, I was coaching right away. That was kind of part of the contract, So this is year 3 right now.
Year 3. And that, as far as I recall, defensive coordinator all 3 years?
Yep.
Now, I know me and you have gone back and forth a little bit about that, and it's a little different ballgame, right? So most of our listeners, thousands of listeners, as Dusty would say, for the Chusky Boys podcast that puts food on the table for many of us, it's 9-man. So it's 9-man football that you're playing. So you're a defensive coordinator, high school football, 9-man. Like, what does that look like? When you were kind of jumping into that, how did you handle it? What did you have to learn? What are the differences between 11 versus 9?
Honestly, man, it wasn't too bad for me, just because I had watched, living in town and my wife working at the school. I watched the football team every year before that. So it's pretty easy to pick up. The difference really on offense is just you don't have 2 tackles. So you still have, however many eligible receivers out there. Only 5 guys on the line instead of 7. So, you have your center, 2 guards, and then you have your tight ends, and they can go out for passes. On defense, you basically just don't have safeties, sort of thing. You can run a 3-4 or a 4-3. You just don't have those 2 guys over the top. But yeah, you mess with stuff. And since it's high school, it's 9-man. You don't run like a too complicated of a scheme, but you prepare every week and you kind of alter some things. You focus on certain guys. So it's less complex in some ways, but I guess the name of the game for 9-man, honestly, is just speed and getting to the edge. If you can get to the outside, to the sideline, so you have a lot more space as long as you're playing on a 100-yard field. So on defense, you contain. On offense, you get around the edge.
And so with that, with being 11 versus 9, so 9-man, is it a higher scoring affair compared to 11, or is it the same, or is it less?
No, oftentimes it's higher scoring. I mean, it obviously depends on who you're playing. Our style of football the last few years was very explosive. We had a lot of speed. We still do, I guess. But like we just lost a huge group of seniors. But we were able to score on almost any play, And depending on the team we did, our defense was locked down. I'm not really going to take credit for that. We just had studs, really. But like playing East River football, playing teams from Leola, Frederick, I guess, let's see, Lyman, who's still West River, I guess, down in Presho, right on the interstate. And then who do we end up losing to? Platte Geddes. So like they play more East River football. Where it is, honestly, it's kind of a ground and pound in between the tackles sort of thing. So it really just depends on who you're playing and the style of football and the athletes you have. They didn't have the athletes we had to be able to do what we do. So that it really just depends.
So let's take it from 3 years. You've been the defensive coordinator for Timberlake.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you guys at the first year, the second year, and then let's kind of go in a little bit more detail this third year.
First year we went 6-2 for the regular season. Lost 2 conference opponents. Lemon McIntosh, they were pretty dang good that year. They could pass the ball whenever they wanted. They had enough athletes to run around. They had a solid quarterback, so they were a very tough team to play because they had a pretty big line too. They had 2 guards. They were brothers, man. Jesus, they were mountains. And you thought you'd be able to.
Are you talking about like the Bash brothers here? You know what I mean? Like we're gonna tear some stuff up or what?
Kind of, man. They just couldn't get around them, and they did a good job of just.
Were they Chusky?
They were beyond Chusky, I think.
Ooh, but fast. They were Chusky in fast. Is that correct? I mean, you gotta be fast, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they move their feet enough. It's one of those things. But honestly, you have a quarterback that can step up in the pocket. That makes it easier for a big guy to guard and make a pocket around you. But like they'd set you up. They'd have, they'd run a spread offense, running back with the quarterback. And as soon as you drop to like a 3-man line, then all of a sudden you got 3 linemen, 3 offensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen. They would just be able to run it up the gut pretty easily. So it was really tough to play them that year. Then Harding County, where my wife's from, they beat us pretty good. They had a solid quarterback who was fast. He could run the ball. And then they had a big running back too, Sam Adams on top of it. His name is Sam Adams. Yeah.
I was going to ask, I'm like, is that just like a code word for a beer or a legitimate name?
Pretty stout kid, man. He was tough. So we lost to them. We spotted them. Too many points to start, really. And then we caught up, but we couldn't clear it. We were missing some guys for that game. And then we lost our first round to Warner, actually. And that was a 56-0 whomp. That was fun. That was a really good experience for us.
You have to worry about getting called to the GM's office the next day, but like, hey, you want to take a seat or should we just make this quick?
You're fired. Teaching too?
We still need you to coach, or we still need you to teach.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I think you got to mess up real bad to get fired. It's one of those things, finding a new person. I mean, they hired me after all, so it's not easy to find help. But yeah, so that was tough. They were a good team though that year. Yeah,
and we're still going to talk about the first year, right? 6-2 that first year. Yep.
2019 and 2020 COVID season. That was just weird, man. That was really weird. They rescheduling games, teams going out with COVID protocol and all that. That was just a pain. We lost our quarterback third game of the season. Lost our biggest offensive lineman early on in the season.
COVID
before the first game. No, man. Lineman went out with an ACL injury before our first game. So actually, here's what happened. Okay, so we were playing conference opponent, actually 45 miles away down in Dupree, because they had a couple cases at the time that, like the day before or something like that, we found out the tribe decided to shut the game down. I don't know they had that authority, but that's what happened, right? So instead of playing, we had kind of a scrimmage practice, just so that we get something out of the day. It's not a waste of a day.
Yep.
We lose our best offensive lineman in that scrimmage. And it wasn't even like he wasn't like actively blocking in the play. The play was way down there, and he and another dude were just messing around kind of, and just boom, knee. So he was out. And then third game of the season or something like that, our quarterback went out, dislocated his kneecap and did something else. Like he was in a brace for a while. That's gross. But so we lost him, and we were just not prepared for that. Like that fast in the year, you know what I mean? So we had a guy. He took over. He did an okay job running our offense for us, a senior. But yeah, we just didn't have it, man. We couldn't figure it out. We ended up going 3-4. We lost 3 games to top 4 teams, though.
Yeah.
There's 3 classes in 9A. You have 9AA, 9A, and 9B. We played top 5 teams in all 3 classes, and those were 3 of our 4 losses. You know, our 4th loss was our playoff game against Phillip, and that was tough. We lost our starting running back that game too. He went down. He broke a tackle. He put his hand down into the grass to keep himself up. You know, he comes back and his finger is just jacked up, dude.
Oh no, around. Like you see on television. You know what I mean? Is that bad? It's not good.
He comes to the sideline. He's like, "Coach, can we tape this?"
Oh my!
Like, yeah, you better go out there. He's tough, dude. He's tough as nails, man.
And then he was done. He was done, right? You didn't put him back in.
Yeah, he's done for that game.
We can't do that. Yeah.
He had surgery, right? He had surgery, and that's like a month or so before. Yeah, I'd say about a month or so before basketball starts, right? Stud basketball player also. I mean, honestly, this kid should have been All-American this year. He's that good. So he can't practice until like the day before the first game, something like that. And like finally gets his hands, he's cleared, you know, got the pins taken out and everything, and he's practicing that same day. He was shooting a free throw, and the guy covering the game on the radio was like, Hank Kraft gets player of the game, but I've never seen a player of the game airball a free throw like he did earlier tonight. I'm like, oh, bro, that's messed up. He had a broken finger, but okay. So that was 2020 season, COVID season. That was tough. We took our lumps, man. Those, let's see, all 3 of those top 5 teams we lost to, man. The games were like 4 points. We lost 2 of them.
Not an ass whooping, but all heartbreakers, all close. They had an opportunity.
Yeah.
Would you rather get an ass whooping, or would you rather have it like a 22-20 loss?
I'd rather. I think that was the score we lost this last year too.
Bro, I've been following you. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I'd much rather take that. I'd much rather take that loss. I mean, you learn something.
Learning.
Get an ass whooping, you're just kind of like, well, we'll just do differently next time, I guess. You know.
How many kids do you have then on the team, like the active roster, if you will, for 9-man football?
Rough. We had a pretty good sized squad this year, so we had about 30 guys. We started with like 34 with injuries and stuff, down to like 25, I guess. I mean, our depth definitely dwindled quite a bit there. Some teams end up having like 18 guys, 20 guys, but we had a pretty good sized roster this year. So I was gonna say some schools have like a big co-op, so they end up having like 35, 40 kids, and it's ridiculous that they're playing 9-man football, but that's just how it is, you know.
And obviously your kids will play offense and defense, probably, right?
Oh yeah, we have most of our squad probably played Ironman football. We had 2 or 3 guys that would swap out offense, defense. Like our quarterback and our center didn't play defense, and then we had a cornerback, and who else would come in then for defense? Just off the top of my head, probably an end. One of our DNs didn't play a whole lot of offense. You know, wasn't a starter on offense. He started on defense. So yeah, most of the guys play 9-man football.
So I used to be a baseball coach, and I know I had some to kind of inspire me. You know, back in the day when I coached for Canyon Lake Little League. Do you have any old timers, if you will, that you look up to, that you call, or that you lean on for advice or help or a shoulder to cry on?
I don't know, man. Not me.
He's a young guy, man. This is a Sean McVay, dude.
I know,
like, he's a trendsetter. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
You don't. Who's Sean McVay call on? No one.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. We just kind of commiserate together, me and the other coaches. Head coach. He's 3 years younger than me. And then the other assistant coach is 7 years younger than me, you know. So, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. I guess we do have kind of an elder statesman in the middle school here, actually. He's our head basketball coach still. He used to coach the football team, too. But, I mean, he's got so much experience. He's such a smart dude, you know, just to throw ideas off of, talk to him about. But, like, every week, you know, whether it was good game, bad game, we won. I mean, we only had 1 regular season loss. But, you know, we talked a lot, I guess. We didn't have any real old-timers, you know. The last few years, honestly, has been the most competitive, consistently competitive. I think Timberlake's been in a long, long time. They were in the Dome back in like 2000, and that's when this basketball coach I'm talking about, that guy that we talk to all the time, he was in there. He was on that squad. So I guess him really would be it. Cody Lawrence, he's the man.
From a coaching standpoint, not necessarily. It does limit you, of course, on how many kids that you can recruit and those kinds of things. Like, you pretty much, it is what you have. You know what I mean? Like, you're not really recruiting anybody, especially being high school, right? But being that smaller community and having those people and stuff like that, do you think that helps you?
Absolutely, man. There's a lot of community support and community help. I mean, I guess you weren't in person. You didn't really get to see the field or be on the field, but I mean, it's a really nice facility for being a town of 500. You know, that track is brand new. the stands. I forget how much they cost, but I mean they're so nice, and it's so good for the kids to get to play there, and the town, the community really gets behind them and supports them a lot. And I mean it's like that for basketball too. All sports in town, man. People just eat it up. They really support the kids.
That's what's so awesome, dude. That's one thing I'm kind of jealous of you every time we talk. You know, yeah, Timberlake's 3 hours away, kind of the middle of nowhere, but just the community and what the community does and some of the events that they put on. I think there was something for the fire department during the summer, you know, seeing the photos.
Yeah.
That's so cool. You know, that's something I'm certainly jealous of.
Yeah, it's comfortable because I mean everybody goes out there, but it's you know everybody or you know of everybody. You might not talk to everybody, but you're comfortable. You can let your kid run around a little bit. Kinsley doesn't like to. She doesn't get too far away from mom and dad anyway. But
Sure.
It's very comfortable.
So Jay, talk about that tight knit community and stuff like that, right? So you wrapped up that second season. You said 3-4, and one of those losses was the playoff game, correct?
Right. Yeah, it was pretty tough season, but we took our lumps, man. It was worth it. We learned a lot, and it was pretty important for this season. I'd say those losses that we took last year against those top tier teams, including Kadoka, Harriet Selby, who else was up there? Lemon was pretty good too. I mean, we learned a lot from those games that we lost. They were heartbreakers, but we learned a lot.
Right, and I think a lot of that, if you did learn a lot in those kinds of things and apply some lessons learned, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's good. That's good coaching. I mean, that's really what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? Is you're not going to win every single game, and how do you continue to get better? So was it 2019? That must've been the game that I saw. Is that before COVID and stuff that was in?
Yeah.
That
was New Underwood.
Yeah, we went to New Underwood. Yep. Hop, skip, and a jump away from us. So take us into this last season, which had some heartbreakers, at least a heartbreaker for the third season that you've been there. So the 2021 season for Timberlake, right?
Yeah. So, man, honestly, coming into this season, it was we were excited, we were confident. Like I was ready to go. I was healthy last year. I really wasn't healthy, so this year I was feeling good, man. Very, very, just excited, ready to go. And our schedule changed. It's like a 2-year rotation for our schedule. So we had some new opponents. We had Stanley County. So that's Fort Pierre basically would be Stanley County, right? They had been 11-man. Before that, they have some athletes, some studs. So we prepared, man. We got ready for them, and we beat them 40-0. So we started the season out great.
Boom! Hell yeah!
We blew them up, man. They weren't ready for us, right? And I mean, it's one of those things you wonder if coming from 11-man down to 9-man was a problem for them, just because the style is different. There are certain things you got to change, and they might not have been prepared for that. It's hard to say. Game after that, we ended up playing Jones County, which is, I can't remember what town that is. It's really close to Rapid, though. It's on the interstate. Let me think here. It's not Kadoka. It's really close to Kadoka. Anyway, played them. We beat them 50-something. It was like 58-8, maybe. I don't know. Third game.
Could that be, just to recap, could that be Murdo?
Murdo?
Yes, I believe it's Murdo.
Okay.
That's right. Then after that, I think it was Harriet Selby, and they made it to the Dome this year. So that's the second time in 3 years they made it to the Dome. So they're pretty tough. They're a very tough squad. We lost to them by 10 points. I think we had the closest difference. We had the smallest difference in points as anybody they had this season. But we fought them hard. We ended up losing our top offensive lineman, one of our senior tight ends. I mean, we had some injuries that game, so it was a heartbreaker there. But
and with injuries, is there anything to really at that level to prevent them from happening, or is it just the nature of the game?
I don't know. These guys, head football coach, he does a good job. He's got a good training regimen for them, a good program. He's kind of he spent a lot of time in the weight room himself, being an athlete too. So he makes sure he gets them trained in good. And some guys, man, there's knee injuries. They're just really prone to it, and the bigger you are, the worse that injury is going to be. So it's tough. I mean, we do, all the stretching, all the different kinds of workouts, all that. Sometimes it just ain't enough. I don't know. Seems like a lot of knee injuries in this area. Maybe they don't drink their milk when they're kids. Just weird stuff because they don't like milk around here, man. It's the craziest thing.
Gotta get that calcium for them bones. Gotta get that calcium.
You gotta have it, man. You gotta have that fat. You gotta get that protein, that calcium. But like kids used to have to eat their breakfast in the classroom last year with COVID, and I'd feel like nobody would want a milk every morning or every day. I'd have to make an order and send it in, and nobody wanted milk. I'm like, what the hell's the matter with you kids? Drink your milk, But anyway, so we get a bunch of injuries. Fourth game of the season, I think, was when we played Lemon McIntosh. They were down this season. They lost a lot of starters, right? Their quarterback from the last 2 years, who was a stud. His brother is now the quarterback. He's got to develop. They're kind of redeveloping. They got young kids. They still had a couple studs left, but we beat them. That was a big game. So that's game 4. Game 5, what the heck was that? Newell, that was probably our homecoming. Took it to them. They struggled. They had a couple of good athletes, but they couldn't hang with us very well. See, that's game 5. Game 6. Let me think here. I'm missing one. Game 7 was Hardin County. That was the game I was really looking forward to. That's the team I really wanted to beat. They're tough every year. They're well coached, and we beat them, man. We beat them by like 40 points, something like that, man. I was jacked up. Then the last season was Faith. The last game of the season, regular season, was Faith. That was a route too. I was one where we just wanted to keep everybody healthy, So we played some guys limited, got through the game. Playoffs, our first game was against Loyola Frederick. We got a pretty good seed. We had a pretty good draw for that game. East River teams, where they play, there's a lot of guys crammed in there. So we had to load up the box to handle them. I mean, they're running the ball right up the gut, right off the tackles. They weren't running sweeps or jets or anything like us. They were just trying to keep it in there. And we took it to them. They couldn't hang with us. They had a linebacker that did a good job. He basically spied our starting running back, our All-American, and he held him, man. But we have other athletes who were able to spread the ball out too. We took a good 12-0 lead to start the game. Ended up getting up, I think 18-0 maybe. Maybe we did. No, it was just 12-0. We ended up scoring another touchdown, and then we held them, man. We had a defensive stand. So we had them. It's fourth quarter. We get the ball back, like our own 5 or something like that. I think we might have got 1 first down. Anyways, we ended up having a 4th down call. What do? We didn't punt. We figured we'd get that first down. We did not get that first down, so the defense had to make a stand. We're only up by 6 points. Defense holds them out again. We ended the game. I guess we ended up kneeing the ball down. But here's how the last play worked defensively for us, man. So we're in there. It's like 4th and goal for them, right? If they don't get it, they lose. And I told the boys exactly what the play was going to be because they were having success out of the wishbone, just running a power to one side or the other. And I was like, all right, boys, they're going to come out in the wishbone set. They're going to run a play action. They're going to run a tight end dump. Don't let it happen. So what do? They come out of the wishbone set. They run a play action, and we sacked that son of a bitch. It was beautiful, man. I was so jacked up on the sideline. I was so jacked up. I'm like, I'm a coach now, man. I think they might believe me now when I say something,
All jacked up on Mountain Dew, man. What can I say?
There it was. We take the knee, we win the game. Next week we go to Lyman. So my first game was at home. Second game was away. Just how the seating worked. We were seated 5, I think, and then we were playing Lyman. They might have been 4 or 3, maybe. I can't remember. Anyways, we go down there. That's 2 or 3 hours away from us, just basically straight south. They ran a very similar offense. They ran where they'd pull 2 guards, pull a guard and a tight end from one side over to the other when they snapped the ball and just run powers, man. It was tough. So we just had to load up, and it was just bam, bam, bam. Be ready for a pass, cover deep, don't let any big plays by, and it has to be right there on the line. And our guys are tough, man. We played physical. We come out. We started an 18-0 lead, man. We just lit them up. And then we let them get back into it. They ended up tying the game at the end. Man, they got away. They lucked out. They threw some prayers up, and we just didn't get them down. It was a tough game. Our defense did a hell of a job. We hung in there. We let them catch up. They tied the game. We had about 30 seconds left. And I just kind of figured, all right, let's try a few times, see if we get the ball down the field, take a knee, go into overtime, handle this thing, right? Because overtime rules for high school football in South Dakota anyways, you just get 4 downs from the 10-yard line. If you can score, that's great. Every team gets a chance. You get a chance. If the other team ties, then you just start over again. You know what I mean?
And as a defensive coordinator, how much do you, and I'm sure it's a small coaching group. We're not talking about the NFL here, right? How involved are you in the other side of the ball with the offensive scheme and play calling and those kinds of things?
If I think something's going to work for us or I'm seeing something, I'll tell the coach and we'll talk about it. But in the middle of the game, sometimes if he's got kind of a series set up, he'll roll with that. But if, he'll ask for help. We got that elder statesman I was talking about, the guy who used to be the head coach. I mean, he's not old. He's like 38. He's usually the crow's nest for us. He's our eye in the sky. But yeah, we talk, we discuss a little bit. I mean, I said, hey, let's run a counter to Hank and give it to Jace and see what happens. Boom, touchdown.
Let me ask this question, right? So you have the offensive coordinator, you have the defensive coordinator, then you have the head coach. What does the head coach do then?
Our head coach is the offensive coordinator. He runs the offense.
Oh, he is.
And yeah, and typically for 9A, you got your head coach is going to run either the offense or the defense, one or the other.
Gotcha.
And then the other assistant coach, he ran lines. So he ran D line for me. So all I did was talk to him a little bit if I was going to blitz a certain thing or cover a certain thing. Then he'd make a different call. But he was able to work with the linemen specifically and give them specific calls for play. And it worked out really well for us and with our personnel and everything.
How many coaches do you actually have then? How many total coaches?
3. We had a super small staff. Like a lot of other schools we played, they'd have between 5 and 7 coaches pretty easily, but we only have 3.
So you have the DC head coach.
Yeah, and then I got a line coach and a special teams coach.
And that's not including the eye in the sky. That guy's just kind of ad hoc, if you will. Yep. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So take us back. Sorry, man. I just had to ask that question because I was always curious. I'm like, every team's different, of course. So you got 30 seconds left. You're playing Lyman, you said, right? And this is in the playoffs for this year.
Yeah. So second round, so it was quarterfinal round. We're down to like 14 seconds now, right? Just kind of, I don't know if we had a penalty or just something, just kind of stopped us dead. We thought we were going to have a chance to get something rolling. We did not. So we're about like the 40 or the 45, something like that. I could look it up. I'm figuring we're just going to need the ball, take it in overtime, right? Coach didn't say anything to us, nothing. Like, just waiting to see what happens. But I think he did call a timeout. So then you're like, okay, we're going to try something, right? And honestly, this is something that blows my mind as a defense coordinator. I'll get to it though. Snap the ball, right? Hank Kraft, our stud, goes out. He's on the right side just by himself. Runs a bit of a fade, right? Gets towards the pylon. Quarterback just hucks it up to him. He turns. He has to stop just a little bit. Catches the ball and he runs it in for a touchdown. Man, it was the most amazing thing ever. It was the greatest feeling. He catches the ball, and you can. Somebody was there for him. From what town? He runs a paper somewhere down south. Like he's from Timberlake, and he's a sports reporter for somebody else. I think he does his own thing on Twitter. Anyways, he was right there at that pylon and recorded it and had just the most perfect shot of it. Just a beautiful recording. And another wide receiver, you could hear him just running up. Oh my God! Oh my God! It was just amazing. Just the crowd going wild.
Yeah, dude, I remember that, and you sent that, and I know your wife posted it on Facebook, dude. Seeing that was it was amazing. You know what I mean? Like you really. Where he was recording it at, like you felt like you were there, you know what I mean? Just kind of perfect, like his vantage point and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it was huge. And like, you can't help you like, hell yeah. Especially if you're a Timberlake fan, which of course by you being a coach there, I absolutely am. You know what I mean? If I'm rooting for anybody, it's going to be Timberlake.
Yeah. So that was intense, man. And like, I slow mode, I freeze framed it, man. He almost dropped that ball too. He almost dropped that ball, but, yeah, man, and I'm very emotional, very energetic, I don't hold my emotions in very well, for football at least, so I'm just screaming on the sideline, I'm just, whoa, oh my God, hugging guys. I mean, I about hurt an injured kid again, I didn't care. I was so jacked up. But like for them and like people in the stands, I guess, were saying this, they're like, who else were they gonna throw it to? Like
that's
so
true.
people for the other team were upset. Yeah, like they're gonna throw it to Hank Kraft, of course. So, but anyways, we win that game. And we're pumped, we're freaking out. And turns out,
okay, so if you look at, if you line that game up, right, and you kind of look at the quote unquote point spread, and we'll get to that later, of course, to kind of help explain that to you. Were you guys expected to win?
Yeah, like we expected to win.
Well,
like, we
I know, but
minds,
if you look like game stats for the year,
well, the stats, we were lined up really close, man. We were like back
records.
Back,
how about
one
records?
2 for offense, 1 and 2 for defense. I think it was a similar. I think we were both 7 and 1 or something.
Right. So it really was a toss-up game then. Like anybody could have won this. Like expectations, you look at you look at that shameless plug, you look at the fucking Atlanta Braves 2021 going in with the worst record for any playoff team and then win the whole goddamn thing. You guys weren't in that situation is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, keep going.
Affirmative. But like I think people at East River, they might have been like, yeah, Lyman will probably take it easy, and I think Lyman had high expectations, and somebody that was in their crow's nest leaned over to somebody else like, ready to go home by halftime? And there's a mercy rule. If you're up by 50 after halftime, game's over. And we took it to them. We were up 18-0 at halftime, actually. So that was awesome. That was a good feeling.
If you're up how much at halftime, JJ?
50 would be the mercy rule.
5-0. Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of points.
That is a lot of points. That was, yeah, that would be tough. That's how we lost to Warner 2 years ago. That was fun. It was a great feeling.
And they provide that wonderful meal after the game, and you're just like,
not even home cooked, man. Homeboy, somebody down there owned a Dairy Queen, so we were eating garbage Dairy Queen burgers after the game. I was like, this is not
only do you get an ass whooping, but you're gonna get diarrhea later. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, man. Like, thanks, guys.
All right, so you win that game last second, right? So now you're in. So this would be the semifinals?
Yeah, third round game. So like while we're celebrating on the field, we're watching. As soon as your game's over, you're watching scores, no matter what week it is, right? And we saw that Plaquemines won. They beat Parkston. That's who we wanted. We wanted to play Platte Geddes, and a little bit of build up here, man. Okay, we were at SDSU's 9-man football camp this summer. Okay, prior to this season, and Platte Geddes was there because they were the state champs last year, right? And we're like, that's who we want to play. We want to play against those guys, and we got to play those guys, right? And we hung with them. We were like, hey guys, that's us, man. If we can hang with the state champs, look at what we can do. We're trying to get the boys to believe, man, especially this year. This group of seniors, there's a large group of seniors, and you're like, hey man, this is your guys' time. This is your team. This is what you want to do. It all depends on what you do here. So we were excited to play them at camp, and then we got to play them at home since they were seated lower than us, actually. So we got to play them at home. So we were just so jacked up, and it was perfect, man. We're coming out confident.
And so you mentioned playing them at home. Does that truly give you, at that level of ball, high school ball, nine-man, home field advantage? What does that mean?
Oh, absolutely. Not having to make a bus ride, man. That's 4.5, 5 hour bus ride right there. That's tough to play off the bus like that. And then having your fans, but I mean, granted, a third round playoff game, you're gonna have a fan bus. Or a lot of people leave town. In a small town, the whole town leaves for a big game like that anyway. But getting to be at home,
rent the Greyhound. We're heading out of town. Come on, folks.
Yeah. So absolutely, there's a home field advantage. So it was a great deal, man. Doing all our research, all our scouting before the week, it was like, hey, we had a great game plan. We were ready to go. They know what we're gonna do. We're just going to be, we have a few more guys that were healthy that we're going to be able to utilize, So we get there, man, we jump out to a lead. We were taking it to them. We came out hot. It was a good game. It was a great game back and forth. Unfortunately, we let them get back into it at the end. We had some tough penalties that handcuffed us a little bit there. I don't want to get too far into that, but, we had some drive ruiners. Give them the ball back, and they just ground it down the field, and they scored. They didn't tie it up. They were behind. It was like 20-15, I think, right? They actually had a field goal kicker, which in 9-man is incredible to have.
Pretty rare.
Actually kick field goals, not just extra points. The kid could get field goals, But man, we had some turnovers at the end of the game. Ended up losing it. Their go-ahead touchdown was on a 4th down. They run a wildcat with they got 5 down linemen. And then they'd have 2 like wing backs just on the right side, run a wildcat, kid would get it, just run to the right side every time. You know where it's going, and it's still tough to stop. You know what I mean? Anyways, they run that same thing, but instead of running it, he takes 2 steps back and just tries to float it in there. And our stud, our All-American, no kidding, he hit that ball. He tipped that ball, and that might have been the reason the kid was able to catch it, because he caught it falling down and like pinned it against himself, sort of thing, and like New York Giants catch in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It wasn't a helmet, but it was just like right here, and he caught that son of a gun. And that's how they ended up going ahead. Then we had another fumble, and then we held them. We got the ball back one more time. We didn't have a lot of time left, and then we threw an interception in the game. Yeah. So it was really a heartbreak, man. 22-20. We felt like we were the better team, and we didn't get to go to state.
That was the next game, right? The next game was in the Dome.
Yeah, next game was in the Dakota Dome in Vermilion. So we go and watch that as a coaching staff. We have coaches meetings, and we talk about All-State and All-American, and that's a whole thing in and of itself right there, man. And we watched the game, and like we felt like we were better than both teams in that game. And the Wall, South Dakota, they have a pretty good team. They're 9B though, and they lost going in. They lost 3rd round also, and they're sitting there watching, and they should have been out there because the team that played in the state championship against the team that they had lost to was nothing compared to them, man. We had a lot of heartbreaks West River here, and I don't know, it was a tough season.
So is it fair to say, I mean, even in that level of ball, any given Sunday, man, right? Like you expect such and such team to win, but it could definitely go in the other way. Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't like we were favorites. You know what I mean? Like we knew it was a tough game. We were confident. We know what we can do. We were going to win. We knew we were going to win, right? It wasn't, it wasn't a surefire thing. It wasn't like a Howard versus Harriet Selby or something like that. Howard was tough. They absolutely dominated this year. So, I mean, any given Sunday, absolutely. Any given Friday, I guess, is definitely true. But this game, man, it was a dogfight, and we just didn't come out. And that might have been a difference in experience. Like I said, the previous couple seasons, we took our lumps, we learned from them, not just coaching staff, but also the players. Because, I mean, sometimes adversity is tough to see when you're a kid, if you've never dealt with it really before, and seeing it on the field and having fought and lost those heartbreakers and played your ass off, but you still don't get it, that makes a big difference in the future. And I think our boys learned from it and used it, and we still just barely didn't come out ahead.
Right. In that game, I mean, really, I think it comes down to the turnovers, dude. I just think that you guys gave up the ball and they were able to take advantage of it, at least on a couple of them.
Yeah, no, that was the difference. We knew that going in. Turnovers, that's going to determine who gets the last possession, and turnovers. Unfortunately, just didn't play out for us. It was a heartbreaker up until, it was really tough until the season was completely over. And then we were able to mourn, our grieving was over and we were able to feel like we were normal again. But it was tough to go back to, it felt like, man, I don't want to just be a teacher again. Being a coach is so, I don't know, monumental. It's so important. It's important to these kids. It's a lot of fun. It's way more fun than I ever thought it was going to be. I never thought in my life I was going to be a football coach. I was thinking baseball coach, maybe football. I was like, no, thanks. But it's so much fun, man. I'm so glad I'm doing it.
Right on. And so the expectation is that next year you do it as well, right? I mean, that's just every year going in that you're the defensive coordinator, or could that change? Is head coach in the future, or is that's not something that you're comfortable doing, or what does that look like, JJ?
It's not something, at least right now, I'm not really comfortable doing. I could probably need some more certifications to do that, because like in college classes you need to take certain ones to be an assistant varsity coach. You got to take others to be a head varsity coach. But I don't know, man. It's a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. It could be. I'm not going to count anything out yet. Obviously, it is a huge time commitment, and it's even more of a time and commitment for a head coach. It's not just the fact that your name is on everything. They have to do a heck of a lot more than I do. Right.
And so when it comes to that, what does it look like for you in the particular role that you're in as a defensive coordinator or assistant coach, or, whatever you want to say, off season of football? What does that look like? When you think college, you're thinking you're recruiting people to come to your college, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
With high school, do you see that at all at nine man? Or is it really, you're just trying to get the talent that you currently have in the town of 500 people the best that they can be, and making sure that they're fit and ready to go? What does that look like in the off season for you guys?
There's no really, recruiting. Some schools, they're close enough together that you could try to do that. If teams on the or schools on the interstate, they're able to get kids to transfer all the time, depending on how things are going and who's a hot team and stuff like that. And for us, that's not a thing. We just have the kids that we have, and we've got some great athletes. We got some great kids, so that really helps out for me in the off season. I have a lot more time, not watching game tape as much, not game planning or anything, but it's staying involved with those high schoolers. Since I'm in the middle school, I could theoretically never see those high schoolers, but I go down there, I talk to the other coaches, I watch a little bit of basketball practice, watch games, I go in the weight room, there's guys in there, just talk to guys about next season, or see what their head's at, see what they're planning on doing, trying to encourage them to, hey, put the work in, because that's something that obviously has such a huge impact in football, especially. So it's still a lot more passive. I go in there, I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I keep involved with the kids and see them and just build more of a rapport with them, and honestly, it's talk to some of the 8th graders too and get them in the right mindset, just because we want, to build a program, you got to get it from the bottom up, and want them to understand what the expectations are as a high schooler and try to get them in the weight room and putting that extra work in now so that they're even more prepared when they get into high school.
What's your thoughts for next year? Are you think your guys are going to be pretty competitive? Are you losing a lot of starters? What does that look like, man?
We're losing a lot of starters, man. We're losing our quarterback, running back, tight end, a center. Let's see, a wide receiver. So right there is 5 starters on offense. Our guard that we lost would have been all state, but we lost him, 3rd game of the season. Yeah. Like seriously, man, he would have made a huge difference, unfortunately. Then we had another senior tight end that went down. Some other guys we just got back at the end of the season, thankfully, a senior tight end and defensive end. On defense, I mean, it's the same guys, but 2 linebackers, and we ran with a 4 linebacker squad, 3 linebackers actually. So 3/4 of my linebackers are gone. So we're probably going to run a different defense next year. Our D line stays the same because of that injured senior was out anyways, and we lose a cornerback. So filling those holes is going to be tough, but our junior class. So next year's seniors, we got some guys. Next year's juniors, we got some guys. So we have athletes, top to bottom. We got young guys coming up. They're going to be able to help. I mean, we got sophomores. I'm telling you, man, we're going to be good. Is it going to be different? Absolutely. We're going to have to play different style of football. Our line is going to be dominant though, because they were already this year, and we didn't lose anybody hardly. We lost our center. Other than that, offensively, we keep the tight ends that we've been playing. basically we lost one tight end, but we were ready to go for that. So I think we'll be all right. Our running backs, our fullback, we're gonna be pretty good shape. Our quarterback, that's toss up right now. You never really know. We got guys that are stepping up, but it's gonna be a competition. It's gonna be a dogfight. So whoever wants it more, you know what I mean. Whoever puts that work in on defense, it'll be some chess pieces for sure. But we'll be competitive, absolutely. Or you lose an All-American, that hurts, or a potential All-American. There's no getting around that. And then another guy who was All-State, like his intensity is something that it's gonna be hard to replace. Because we went to 2 football camps this last summer, and the first one he wasn't there. Our hype man, you know what I mean? And then the second one he was there, and we were a completely different team. We were smacking dudes in the mouth. I mean, we were ready to go.
That's crazy.
He was the spirit of the team, the heart and soul. So losing that sucks. I mean, physical talent, we're losing.
And that's not
spirit.
That spirit piece. That's not, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's not something you can teach.
No.
It's you either have it or you're not. Either you kind of put people on your back and you move forward with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just not something that you can teach. Like, hey, I need you to be the spirit of the team. That's not a conversation you really have.
No, and if you're not that guy, when you try to be that guy, it doesn't work. It has the opposite effect. You know what I mean?
Ends up pretty awkward. Yeah, kind of reverses what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, so that's tough. When you just gotta let it happen. You just gotta let those boys do it. I mean, you might tell them as a group, like, hey, you guys gotta figure it out. Whose team is it? Who's gonna take over? Who's gonna be a big dog now? It's up to you. We can't make it happen. So we'll see, man. I mean, we have the potential, but potential don't mean shit. You know what I mean?
Need the actions to happen, dude. And I just gotta go back to, like, I am so surprised how good of a coach you are, man, just because you were never really affiliated with football. Yes, you were in post 22 and those kinds of things, and how you have grown to be this great coach, and even talking with your wife and stuff like that you love it, that you're good at it and you enjoy it. I don't want to say it caught me off guard, but really it did, because football really wasn't what we were involved in as a family during high school. Past that, it was always baseball, in the occasional at Aberdeen. What was it that you guys would do, that video? What the hell was it? Curling.
Really wasting
clean
our
line.
time.
That's a clean line.
Hard.
So, I mean, I just think what you're doing, man, is fantastic. It's awesome in that tight knit community that you guys have over there. Like I said, every time we talk about it, we're jealous. You know what I mean? The only unfortunate thing is visiting. It's tough just because there's really nowhere to stay, no sights to see. And if there's a little bit of that, it'd be easier to come visit you guys, dude. But I mean, that's fantastic, dude. I think what you guys do for Timberlake is amazing. And I really don't foresee you guys leaving anytime soon. I think you guys are really part of that community. Don't tell Laura, my wife, any of that, because that would probably frustrate her. But I just think that's the nature of what's going on, man. And I think that's awesome for you guys.
Yeah, dude. Thanks, man. It surprises me too. I don't think I'm a great coach by any means. I really don't even think I'm a good coach. I just being a part of the team, honestly, getting those kids, getting those guys to listen to you. Once you get to that point, man, it makes things a lot easier, but it's just putting the work in. It's just like being a player. And if you're intense and you're a competitor, that doesn't really matter what sport it is. You know what I mean? Competing is competing 100%. And if you know what it takes to compete, man, you can make it happen.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'm surprised at how much I enjoy living in this town too. Because when we first moved here, I was like, all right, man, year or two, we're getting the hell out, and this is year 8.
Now the discussion is buying land and putting a house on it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Then once that happens, you're locked down for a while.
Locked down.
We're gonna have our 3rd kid in a few months, or 2 months or something. So it's like uprooting that is tough. And once they get into school, you don't want to be that person, So it's just probably.
And for the record, you are a girl dad through and through, man. I think the expectation is that's going to be 3rd child, 3rd girl dad, straight up, right?
Yeah, all 3 of them, man. It's pretty wild. I'm excited. I have no problem with that. So they're so much fun. And the 4-year-old, she's pretty sassy, and when she's not in a good mood, she's not in a good mood. But she's so smart and so much fun. And then Maisie, the 18-month-old, holy crap, man, she's just so funny and serious sometimes, and judgy, So it's like, and they have such different personalities. It's an unbelievable. And then a 3rd one comes, it's like, oh God, what's going to happen next?
What
you know what I mean?
you gonna get, dude? I mean, it is always a pleasure when you guys have the opportunity to come and visit and stay with us. I'm not even gonna lie, dude. It's always interesting. And of course, when any of the kids that you have become mobile, always makes it even more interesting for sure. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
right
yeah,
on,
baby
man.
gates, and it doesn't do it. Baby
Yep.
gates aren't enough.
Yep. And then, of course, we got the old English bulldog that's 70 pounds that can knock over any of our children. You know what I mean? And she gets excited for a little bit, then she chills out. But,
Oh yeah.
you know, you got to be on bump watch or, you know, falling down watch or whatever with her. So that's awesome, dude. Like I said, I think it's amazing what you're doing over there in that community between you and your wife. I mean, it's just fantastic, dude. And I've told Laura that don't expect them to leave anytime soon. It's kind of game. I don't want to say game over because things absolutely can change, but it would take something dramatic to pull you out of that community, dude. And I think it's fantastic. And once again, I am jealous. I am jealous of the community that you're a part of and the tight knit group that you have, dude. That is so fantastic.
Yeah, it's an awesome town, man, and I hope it doesn't change. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And financially, it's tough. Like they pay well here, and my side gig, the job I had before I was teaching, paid me really well, and you can't afford to leave, you know. And houses down in the hills right now are just
right now is
man.
not the time to try to move back anywhere close to home, dude. Let's be real.
No.
You know, we've been on like the list of places to move to and this and that, and it drives up the cost of living. It drives up the cost of homes. I think it's somewhat leveling off, but now it's just getting to what's realistic. You know, for those people that have refinanced their homes and tried to cash out and stuff, I just think it's going to be a bad idea in a couple of years, but we'll see, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I know? All I know is I left it as it is, didn't do any of that, and just trying to status quo it, if you will, and just making it through whatever this crazy ass time is with COVID and all the stuff that came with it. So, all right. So that's great. That's fantastic. That was Coach Martin, right? So now we're going to move away from Coach Martin, and now Dusty's piping up a little bit. You can see him back in the video of like, all right, now we're going to talk about sports betting. This is where I'm at. So what we'll do first is I think it's important that we recap week 13. We did have Mr. Ryan Clapperich as our guest last week, talking about scouting for the Atlanta Braves, which of course I love to talk about. 2021 World Series champions. I always like to plug that at least once or twice. Shut the fuck up, Dusty. And in working with Post 22, which JJ, you have a connection to. I briefly brought you up that was kind of an important piece of it, and following that, and Coach Dave Plouffe, and you know, the longer you're into it when you get to varsity and stuff, the more it kind of takes over your lives and those kinds of things. So anyways, so to recap week 13 picks, Dusty, this is one of your better weeks, man. I am not going to lie, dude. I'm going to say that you did pretty damn well. I think you did some other side bets that paid off for you as well. Dusty, for week 13, you had Bucks at Falcons, that the Bucks were going to win at 10.5 points. It was a 30-17. You hit that mark, brother.
That's a big spread, man.
That is a big spread, and you hit it, and you were very confident about it. And the next bet you had was the Vikings at
You
Lions.
call it confident. We call it drunk.
Well, either or. I mean, realistically, at this time, what does it matter? It's a win's a win, right?
Vikings at Lions. Luckily on that one, I did the over under and not the spread, because who the hell is seeing Detroit beating Minnesota?
Yeah, we'll get to that when we talk about Mr. Clapperich here in a second as our guest better. But Vikings at Lions, you did the over at 46. It was a total of 47 points. Hello. That's another win for you. So right now you're sitting 2-0.
Rather be lucky than good, baby.
Hey, listen, always in the positive is good, right? Colts at Texans. You had the Colts at winning at 8.5 points. That game was an old fashioned ass whooping, right? 31-0. Yep. And that was depressing for me from a fantasy football standpoint with Brandon Cooks. He still scored some points, from catches, receptions as well as yards. But I mean,
he didn't have much though.
Yeah,
I needed him on a parlay. He didn't do shit.
The Houston Texans are in fucking shambles. Let's just call it like it is. Now, so right now you're sitting 3-0. Where you had a little bit of chink in your armor was the Jags at Rams. You had the over at 47.5 points. Total points ended up being 44. So that was the one area that you did not win, man. Ryan Clapperich, who was our ad hoc, happened to be in your garage at the right time interview that we had.
You never know who's going to be my garage.
That's true, man. And he went 3-1 also. So he did the Cowboys money line. They ended up beating the Saints on Thursday night right before my birthday. They always play around my birthday. And I'll be honest, guys, usually it's a disappointment. It's the Cowboys, any sort of nationally televised game. They seem like they fuck it up. Okay.
Did the Cowboys cover the spread? I don't think they did.
27-17, if I recall. I think they did cover the spread.
All right.
And so, anyways, Ryan went with the money line. That's a win for him. Dolphins, he went that they were going to win by 4 points. It was 20-19 or 20-9, excuse me. He hit that. Mr. Ryan, though, if you go back to the tape, was very confident in the Minnesota Vikings. He took the spread that they were going to win by 7 points. They lost.
What a nerd.
The Detroit Lions, who have yet to win a game. Yes, they've tied a game, lost 29-27. So that was definitely in the loss column for him. He also took the Colts over the Texans at 8.5 points. Once again, that was 31-0. He won that. So you guys were both 3-1. You guys both tied for that week. Fortunately, me, I went 2-2. Cowboys at Saints. I did go the under 47.5 points. It was 44 points. That was a win for me. I took the Bengals. That was a bad idea, evidently. Chargers at Bengals. The Bengals lost by 19 points. It was 41-22. Chargers got their groove back. They're kind of maybe shit out of luck this coming week. They lost Mike, who's their wide receiver. You got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, both on I believe it's Mike Williams. They're both on the COVID-19 list. That's going to be tough.
I didn't know. Oh, wow.
Yeah, if they can't come back, can't come back before it, they got to have 2 negative tests within 24 hours apart.
If they're vaxxed.
Yeah. We won't even get into that because that turns into political mumbo jumbo, but we'll see. Otherwise, it's going to be tough for them to win that game. Dolphins, I also took at that they were going to win by 4 points. That happened. This last game is bullshit. I feel like we recorded the podcast too early. I don't know what the weather's going to be, but the Patriots at Bills, I had the over at 43.5. There was 24 points scored. For the record, Mac Jones threw three passes. He was 2 for 3, if I recall. And they won that game. I feel like that, based off JJ, what you've said, that was a nine-man game where they were hitting it in the box and just running the ball, playing old school football, and it paid off. I mean, I don't know if Bill Belichick's a great coach, or on the other side with Josh Allen and whoever his coach is. I think McDermott just didn't plan well, but that was windy as a son of a bitch. That's for damn sure. So Dusty went 3-1. Ryan went 3-1 as the guest better, we'll call him. And I myself, I went 2-2, which, you know what, damn it, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that 2-2 and say, you know what, that's okay. I'm going to take that. The previous week from that, I was 1-3. So I'm getting better. So we are going to have JJ, our guest interview, be our guest better as well. But before we do that, as always, we are going to use BetMGM, who we are really holding out. It's going to be a sponsor one day for us, so we can kind of recoup some of the costs.
The talks have went cold, by the way.
They have went silent. Hopefully,
they actually were never vocal to begin with, but I pretty much give up.
We talk a big game. What can we say? And so, anyways, Dusty, explain.
Well, how can you bet, Ben? Before we get into that, how do you bet MGM? What do you do? Because we live in South Dakota.
The unfortunate thing is, because of how conservative this GD state is, that to bet on any sort of app or online, you have to be in Deadwood at specific sports books. And if I recall, Dusty, help me out here, Tin Lizzie's is one of them that uses BetMGM, as well as Cadillac Jacks, right?
Yep, they got their own sports books, and they're awesome, like super. And we're not sponsored by them, by the way, but super helpful folks. Just go up there, dude. If you're not a big bettor, just go up there with $100 and watch the early games. You'll hit something, you know what I mean? Unless you're absolutely crazy and doing like 6-leg parlays, which you'll never hit. You never know. But just bet like, I don't know, if you have $100, go up there and bet. Just do 4 2-team or 2-ticket parlays, right? So you could do, like, for this week example, I'm just going to look at the first game I see. Falcons at Panthers. Falcons are plus 2.5. Over under is 42.5. You could do like a $25. Well, who do you guys like? I'm going to leave it up to you. Panthers or Falcons? Panthers are plus 2.5. I'm sorry, Falcons are plus 2.5. The Falcons are getting the points.
Yep. So before we do that, let's just do a little education piece. JJ, who is not affiliated with sports betting whatsoever, he's doing this because he happens to be on the podcast.
Should we taint him? I don't know if we should. He might.
I think. I mean,
do you know how many times my leg's been broken?
I think you got to educate. If we're gonna have him pick some stuff, let's make sure that he's educated. So Dusty,
let's do a quick rundown.
When you do over under, when you do the point spread, when you do the money line, just kind of break that down. Elementary for JJ, who happens to be a high school educator.
JJ, who's your NFL team again?
Cowboys.
Okay.
Dusty, back to explaining to Youngblood what the sports betting that we're looking at. Like I said, over and under, point spread, and money line.
All right, so you're a Cowboys fan. Let's talk about the Cowboys game this week, okay? So, Cowboys at Washington football team. And This is how it looks this week, right? So, you get the Cowboys -4. The over-under is 47.5. Obviously, the Cowboys are favored, right? So, let's say you take the Cowboys -4. The Cowboys win by 5 points, you win. If the Cowboys win by 3 points, you lose. If the Cowboys win by 4 points, it's a push. The over-under is super self-explanatory, right? The total score between Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys, if it's 48 points, that's the over. If it's 47 points, that's the under. The money line, for example, you don't win nearly as much if you take the favorite. So if you took Washington football team, since they're +4, their money line is 160. So simply put, if you bet $100 to win Washington football team, or for the Washington football team, rather, you're going to win $160. If you bet 50, you win 80. You can just do this simple math in your head.
So the other thing is the VIG, right? So if you look at BetMGM, or if we're looking at the Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington football team, and we look at the 4-point spread, right? Cowboys should need to win by 4, or Washington football can lose up to 4 points, or if they win outright. You see it as a -110, right, JJ? When you look at that, break it down to $100. If you bet $100, you are going to win $90. Right, Dusty?
That's right.
That's their VIG. Now, if you were to do the money line, it is +160. If you were to bet $100, you are going to win $160. Does that make sense? If you look at the money line for the Dallas Cowboys at a -190, you need to bet $190 to win $100 back because they're the favorite on the money line. So very brief, non-parlay specific, because that does add multipliers and stuff like that. Parlays get interesting because you can pick, a bunch of over-unders, money lines, et cetera, and you can turn $5 into thousands of dollars. Doesn't happen often. That's, because a lot of contingent on things, and any given Sunday, we've talked about that. You talk about NBA, you talk about MLB, any of those days you can have Max Scherzer get wrecked, and he was the huge favorite, for whatever it is. So if you think about that, look through the slate for next week and pick 4 bets that you feel like are going to pay off. Look at the over, and we don't do too much money line, but we could if you want. We look at over and unders, and we look at point spreads, okay? What we'll do, though, while it gives you an opportunity to kind of look at the slate, me and Dusty will go first. I'll let Dusty actually go first, and then we'll put that together. And it's just guess spot, just seeing where you sit. Like I said, Ryan Clapperidge beat me yesterday and pushed with Dusty, and then we'll go from there. So knowing that, Dusty, what are your 4 best bets for week 14 for the NFL?
All right, so let's do my bets quickly. I got 5 bets this week. I know
5. Okay,
really have
you got rule. 4 good ones. You got a bonus bet, we'll call it, foo.
I got a bonus bet because I'll explain why I have a bonus bet. You'll see why I need to make this bet, right? So let's just start off. Let's get it out of the way. I'm a Bears fan. It's Packers week in Lambeau. I hate the Packers. Packers -12.5. The Bears are +12.5. Obviously, the Bears aren't going to cover the spread. We are so depleted, not an excuse, but dude, all of our defense is out for the most part. We have to start Justin Fields with cracked ribs because Andy Dalton, I'm pretty sure, inside info, has a broken bone in his left hand.
That ginger can't hack it. Let's be real.
Dude, Andy Dalton's our best chance to win, but let's move on. So I got the Packers minus 12.5. Unfortunately, those bastards are going to take care of us in Lambeau. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Sharon Rodgers' last game against the Bears in a Packers uniform. I doubt that's true, but you never know. So I got Packers minus 12.5. There you go. Rams at Cardinals, Monday Night Football. I got the Rams plus 2.5, which means, of course, that they win by 3 points or more. I think they do that. I know the Cardinals are tough, but I think the Rams are a more legit team and they got it together.
I'm going to correct you there. The Rams need to not lose by more than 2 points.
Motherfucker.
I got you, brother. I got you.
There you go. So yeah, that's why I picked the Rams, because there's no way that they're going to lose the game, especially if they lose, it's going to be the last second field goal, blah, blah, blah. So that 2.5 point spread though is always tricky, because you figure if they go to overtime, how many times does a team win by a field goal in overtime, which is 3 points? It happens quite a bit. So I got the Rams plus 2.5. They're the favorite, or I'm sorry, they're not the favorite. They're the underdog, but it's in Arizona, right? So it's a punch. So that the thing is, if it was in LA, the Rams would be a favorite, but that home point or that home field advantage, I don't think makes a bit of a difference in my opinion. My third game, Bills at Tampa Bay. I got Tampa Bay minus 3.5. The Bills, dude, they're struggling, man. They're not. I put a futures bet on the Bills. We talked about, I think, in episode 3 to win the Super Bowl and the AFC. I don't see them doing either.
They can't get a consistent run game going, man. They got 3 different backs on there between Singletary, Moss, and Breida. And dude, as a fantasy football owner, I just want to drop them and be like, the hell with it, and pick somebody else up, dude. Like,
I've got on one of my fantasy football teams, I've got 4 Bills players, and I play maybe one a week when I got to plug them in for buys. What's that tight end?
We call him Cole Beasley. Knox. You're probably thinking Knox, aren't you?
I'm thinking Knox. Yeah, I got Beasley, Singletary, Knox, and I think maybe I only have 3. I don't know if there's.
I got more. Singletary and Moss, and they both sit on the bench. I just got to drop him and pick somebody else up.
So I got the Buccaneers minus 3.5. They're gonna win by at least 4 points. I think they win by 14 points, but I'm gonna take the spread 3.5. So there's that one. And I think that was my 4. Oh, that was 3. I'm sorry. I also had the over back to Monday Night Football. Rams at Cardinals. The over 52. I had the over 52. So over under 52. I definitely had the over on that. Won't be much over 52, but I bet you they score into that close to 60 points because they're a high flying team. Now, my 5th bet. Why I made a 5th bet? All of my family right now is en route to Minneapolis for Thursday Night Football.
En route,
eh? So I am a Bears fan, but I grew up in a Steelers household. I got Steelers in Minnesota for Thursday Night Football. Steelers are plus 3. So basically, if they get 3 points to cover the spread. So if they only lose by 2, you win. If they lose by 3, it's a push. And if they lose by 4 or more, it's a loss. So I got Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3 tomorrow in Minnesota. The over-under on that game is 43, which I feel is fairly low, especially if Dalvin Cook ends up playing. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do the Steelers plus 3 tomorrow night.
Right on, man. It's a good slate, man. Even gave us a bonus pick for the La Familia. We'll go to me while JD's still studying the slate. I can see you just kind of grab. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Don't worry.
Well, hold on. Like, I feel like I could just go with those easy freaking gimmies. You know what I mean?
Hey,
like,
there ain't nothing.
Though.
In betting, there ain't a goddamn thing that's gimmies, and you stay away from the money lines. Don't be no wussy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, going against a spread, there's no gimmies, dude. Like, there's no one smarter than Vegas. It'll burn you really quick.
But I mean, the thing is, like, I could look at the Broncos-Lions game and bet on that, but I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm here for. You know what I mean? That's some pussy shit right there.
I was just looking at that one, man. Way to make me feel bad.
Well, like, and it just limits you. Like, do I want to bet on? Dusty picked a lot of the same games I was looking at, you know.
And there's nothing. There ain't nothing wrong with that, man. We call him.
I know. I just don't want to be that guy.
The mad scientist.
I'm just gonna bet with Dusty.
He loses a lot. So, are you ready? You got 4 picks lined up, man. We'll jump to you then.
All right. I was also planning on doing the Pittsburgh Steelers Minnesota Vikings game because I love betting against the Vikings. Okay, has treated me well over the years. I mean, they disappoint their fans every season. It's like being a Cowboys fan, right? For fantasy, I always like having whoever's the Cowboys are playing against because I hedge my bets that way. Anyways, I'm going to go with the Steelers +3 also. I don't see the Vikings pulling it out. Their defense, Mike Zimmer is just doing such an awful job.
He's gonna get fired.
He's gone soon, dude. 2 of the 4 NFC North coaches will be gone within a month or less.
That's a pretty easy one there, I would say. Let's see here. I'm going to go with the Raiders. Raiders over the Chiefs. I'm going to go Raiders +8.5. I'm going out on a limb here.
That's a lot
the
of
Chiefs
points.
team. Chiefs are hot and cold, but I'm going for it.
I think Derek Carr is going to light that Chiefs secondary up, dude. The Chiefs secondary is like 29th.
Waller
in the league
is the one person, we know about Henry Ruggs. Waller, I don't know if he's back yet. That would be kind of something I'd be a little nervous about. They got Jacobs. Drake's out with an injury. I'm a little concerned there, but I've already written down your bet, JJ. It is locked in. You got the Raiders at +8.
I come in.
Locked. Okay. And obviously, Cowboys -4 over the Washington football team. That was just kind of an obvious one. I can't bet against them so much, but I can have players on my fantasy that are playing against them. So I feel like I'm not trading, but being a total trader at that point. I was gonna bet on the Bucks and the Bills, man, but I don't know. After that game, that was a tough one. I was gonna go with. I'm going with the Rams +2.5 over the Cardinals. Just a gut feeling there, honestly, because they're also hot and cold. If Kyler Murray's not doing well, is he playing this week?
Yeah,
I have not kept up on it.
Yeah, he's back.
If he's
Hopkins
cold,
is back too.
Yeah, so if he's cold, man, I feel like they can't get it done. So I'll just go with the Rams. I mean, they got Matthew Stafford under center. It seems like they're doing really good things.
That
It's
Stafford
funny.
Cooper Cup connection, man, it's deadly.
I have one connection I am loving in fantasy this year. Okay.
Same.
Woo!
Tom Brady and Leonard Fournette's what I'm loving.
I do love Fournette too, and he had them 4 touchdowns. Anyways, all right. It is down to me to wrap this episode 7 up. Let me see if I can't switch some stuff up. I'm gonna go Cleveland Browns -2.5 points. I think they're gonna beat the Ravens. I think the Ravens are playing like dog shit, and I think they have the ability with Myles Garrett and that defense to control Mr. Jackson and Lamar Jackson. Thank you. The assist.
They call him LJ in the biz.
Appreciated. We will also go with the Carolina Panthers -2.5 over the Falcons. Joe Judge was fired. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff from Mr. Cam Newton. We'll see if that pays off or not. That could backfire on me. And we will also look at not the Detroit Lions Denver Broncos game, just because that'd make me feel bad. I can't go with the Chargers at a -10, with the Giants at +10. You know what? I'm going to take the Giants at +10. I am going to take the New York football Giants at +10 because that Chargers wide receiver core is in a bad spot. Now, there's a good chance for this podcast hits or before the game starts that both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are free to play, and I'm going to be in a bad spot. But that's what betting's all about.
If you lose that bet, I'm going to go on Craigslist and find a new Chusky boy because that's embarrassing.
When I think you're going to look on Craigslist that you are looking for something you don't want, Dusty, or we have some life discussions to happen. Okay, buddy?
So there's a lot that needs to happen.
And I am going
to. So you took the Giants +10 against the Chargers? Then?
That's right. Yep. With what we know about that wide receiving core. Okay. And another one I'm going to go up against you guys just to hopefully be able to rub it in your face is I'm going to go with the Cardinals are going to win over 2.5 points.
Yeah, maybe. You never know.
That's
Monday night game, dude. Like that's
that
what do you guys think about I'm a Bears fan, and the Packers have had our number for many, many years, but with the exception of a few different games. I know like the Thanksgiving night game 5-6 years ago when Cutler came out and whooped the Packers. But what do you think about that game not being flexed out of Sunday Night Football? How embarrassing is that?
Everybody wants to see Aaron Rodgers or Sharon Rodgers, as you say, play, dude. And I'm pretty sure there's some sort of contractual obligations where a team has that Sunday night game, dude. I mean,
oh no, they'll flex them out, dude.
I know. I was trying to be like be on your side,
yeah.
But there's a lot of. I mean, if you really look at the slate of games, there's not. I mean, the only game that I could really look at, there's two games I would say that could be flexed out for that. The Raiders at the Chiefs, because that's always close games. Earlier in the year, I think the Raiders ended up beating the Chiefs, right? And that was kind of a surprise for everybody. And I'm kind of partial to this. I could see the Cowboys versus the Washington football team. Always close.
Heineke's balling out lately, man. He's watching the football team.
I hit him with a man, you're dropping all sorts of Howard Stern references, man. Look at you. I do feel like the Cowboys coming back from some injuries on the defensive side of the ball with Randy Gregory. We have DeMarcus Lawrence back. I think the Cowboys are sitting pretty good for that as long as we play good fundamental football. But we always have an opportunity to fuck that up. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. A game I am going to watch, and hopefully we do win because they are kind of barking at us. I think they're 2 games out. There's a lot of football still left. Don't forget there's 18 weeks, 17 total games this year. So that's kind of new. That is something new. So anyways, wacky. I feel comfortable that I'm going to go 4-0. You guys are all going to fuck up, go 1-3, maybe 0-4. It's just the way it works.
I'm 5, boys. I'm 5-0.
Confidence is high. One of the games don't count, right? So that was a good episode. Once again, we're episode 7. So JJ, we asked the same question to all of our guests, and they have a tendency, to fuck it up, and I got to do some edits. But we're just going to throw this out there. So JJ, if you're not chubby,
you're probably not husky.
Well, what the fuck are you, JJ?
Are you Chusky?
You goddamn right, you're Chusky.
What the hell else could you be?
Episode 7 in the books.
Peace.